الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك يا ذا الجلال والإكرام. نويت التعلم والتعليم والتذكر والتذكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم، والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. الحمد لله. The qaida today. Bismillah. So continue on in the qawaid from Sidi Ahmed Zarruq. The qaida number 27. الاختلاف في الحكم الواحد نفيا وإثباتا إن ظهر ابتناء أحدهما على أصل لا يتم الاحتجاج به فهو فاسد، وإن أدى إلى محال فهو باطل، بخلاف ما ظهر ابتناؤه على أصل يتم الاحتجاج به ولا تنزع الحجة من يد مخالفه حيث يكون الكل صحيحا، ومن ثم نفرق بين خلاف واختلاف، فنكفر من آل قوله لمحال في معقول العقائد، ونبدع من آل به لذلك في منقولها إن التزم القول باللازم، وإلا نظر في شبهته فندري له حكمها على خلاف بين العلماء في قول لازم القول، ولا نكفر ولا نبدع من لازم قوله غير محال، إذا لا نجزم بفساد أصله مع احتماله. وبهذا الوجه يظهر قبول خلاف أهل السنة بينهم مع ردهم للغير عموما، وهو جار في باب الأحكام الشرعية وفي باب الرد والقبول، فتأمل ذلك تجده، وبالله التوفيق. This is more of a qaida in dealing with creed, but it also relates to tasawwuf. الاختلاف في الحكم الواحد نفيا وإثباتا. That when there's a difference in a single ruling, so you have nafi wa ithbat, right? Because those are the two ways you can make a hukm, right? You either assert something or you negate something. So if I say something's halal and another faqih says no, it's haram, we have a ikhtilaf or a khilaf. He's going to differentiate. So he's saying the ikhtilaf in the hukm al-wahid, in the same ruling, the difference when it's by negation or assertion, affirmation. إن ظهر ابتناء أحدهما على أصل لا يتم الاحتجاج به فهو فاسد. If one of them builds its source on a foundation that cannot be used as an ihtijaj. So he's saying that there's no real proof in the source that they're using, فهو فاسد. It's invalid, unsound. All right? This is logic. وَإِنْ أَدَّى إِلَى مُحَالٍ فَهُوَ بَاطِلٌ. But if it leads to something that's impossible, it's null and void. It has no... So one of them, it's even stronger. بِخِلَافِ مَا ظَهْرَ ابْتِنَاؤُهُ عَلَى أَصْلٍ يَتِمُّ الْاحْتِجَاجُ بِهِ. And this is in contradistinction to that which is built upon a foundation that the ihtijaj, using it as a proof, يحتج به, to use it as a hujjah, to use it as a proof, is completed. It can be completed. So you can use it as a proof. وَلَا تُنْزَعُ الْحُجَّةُ مِنْ يَدِّ مُخَالِفِهِ. And this does not negate or remove the proof that is in the one opposing him. حيث يكون الكل صحيحا. So both of them could be correct. In that it's an ijtihad. فمن ثم نفرق بين خلاف واختلاف. And from this perspective we differentiate between khilaf and ikhtilaf. Khilaf is a negative term. Ikhtilaf is a positive term. Ikhtilafu ummati rahmah. The differences of my ummah are a mercy. It's a hadith Imam al-Bayhaqi related. It has some weakness in it, but the qaida is sound. The principle is sound. And there, Umar ibn Abdul Aziz is very famous for saying that it's fortunate that the Sahaba disagreed about things because it left space for us to differ on these things. And this is one of the beauties of Islam, is that it's never had this fascistic uniformity, this demand that everybody do the same thing, everybody follow the same thing. And yet, within that diversity, there's this incredible unity. I'll give you an example. If you go to Mecca or Medina, every type of Muslim is there. You have Zaydis, Ibadis, Shi'i from the different groups amongst the Shia. You have Malikis, Hanafis, Hanbalis, Shafi'is. You have Sufis, you have Salafis. You have every single type of Muslim, men, women. It's all represented there. And yet all of them go 5 times a day to the same prayer, behind the imam, facing the same qibla, doing the same basic functions. I mean, the differences are all negligible if you think about it. Some people move their little finger based on a hadith. In the Maliki, some people leave it still. Some people raise it only at the time of the shahada. Some of the Malikis hold it with in a like almost a fist form with the bottom of the fist on the, and others hold it down with all the fingers on the. You have Shafi'is, some of them, if you're Malaysia, you see the Malaysians, they tend to do on the side over the heart. Other Shafi'is do it in the middle. The Hanafis do it under the belly button. Some of them do it on the belly button. Malikis, Shia, Ibadis leave their hands at their sides. Malikis and the mashhur of the madhab. Those are the differences, but the standing, the ruku', the return, the prostration, the 3 rakats for Maghrib, the 4 rakats for Isha, the 2 rakats for Fajr, right? The 4 rakats for Dhuhr and Asr. Amazing that an ummah could all be doing the same worship despite all of their differences. When they come together for these fundamental pillars of Islam, they do the same thing. Even on the Hajj, they do the same thing. There's 3 types of Hajj. You can choose or pick which ones you want. The only difference is you're going to see some of like in the Ja'fari madhab, they can't have a head covering even in a moving vehicle. So you'll see the Shia buses without any covers on them because they're not allowed to cover when they're moving in a vehicle, right? But some people use an umbrella, some people don't. Like Malikis, they don't. So those are all, those are details that the fuqaha have differed on, and they all have their proofs. But that fundamental uniformity is amazing. One Quran, there's no difference. Shia, you go from Indonesia to Morocco, or now from Indonesia to California, they read with the same makharij al-huruf. There's 17 makharij al-huruf. They read with the same sifat. Everybody has the same idgham, whether you're a Shi'i or you're a Sunni or a Ibadi, it doesn't matter. You have the same tajweed, which is a proof. For me, one of the great proofs of Islam is the phonetic preservation of the pronunciation of the Quran. Why aren't there different pronunciations around the world? Why do Muslims recite the Quran identical if they're doing it properly? They can do it with different styles. You have hazn, you have maqamat. They can read in maqamat. So you have rast, you have hijazi, iraqi. They can do those, but the tajweed is the same. You're limited in the amount of beats that you can use, right? All that stuff is limited and it's fixed, which proves that it came from one source. And that's a clear proof that it came from one source. I mean, how else could you have the same recitation, 1.3 billion people, all of them are in agreement? If you're reciting the Quran right, you're reciting it the same way. That's amazing. I mean, that no other community has that. The Jews differ on how the Torah is pronounced. The Christians differ on how Koine Greek is pronounced. I took 2 years of Greek. And my New Testament teacher, she said, we don't really know how we think the sound was like this. So we don't even know the New Testament, which is not the language Jesus was speaking. He was probably speaking Aramaic. I mean, I didn't see the film, but even in the film, Last Temptation of Christ, where they're speaking Aramaic, a friend of mine who's Arab saw it, told me he was amazed at how much he could understand. in the film. And then they have the character portraying Jesus on the cross, Ilah, Ilah. That's what he says, Ilah. Because that's Ilah, Ilahi, Ilahi. Lima, lima sabakhtani. Right? Why? Lima, lima. So that's the language. Even in the New Testament, it's got him speaking a dialect of Arabic. Right? But the Muslims are the only community, as far as I know, of these ancient classical religions, the big ones. I'm talking about Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism. I mean, Judaism is relatively small, but because of their impact, they're placed, because they are the foundation of Christianity and Islam, in that both of those religions see themselves as an extension, even though we would say, it's a direct revelation from God. But Judaism it's all the same prophets that are being mentioned in the Quran, and it's seen as an extension. In all those religions, I think the Muslims are the only ones that have a book that they recite the same. And then we have 7 variants. They tried to prove these silly things. Oh, there's all these different types of Quran. They've never differed that there were differences of recitation. The Prophet ﷺ taught those differences. Omar got upset when he heard a Quran reciter reciting it one way. He said, that's not the way the Prophet taught. He said, that's the way he taught me. They both went to the Prophet, and the Prophet said, yes, I taught him that way, I taught you that way. So he taught in different dialects. Warsh, Qalun and Warsh, who are the recensions of Nafi', they recite in the Hijazi dialect. So the language of the Warsh in particular is the language of the Quraysh. Like they said mu'min, they didn't say mu'min. They didn't pronounce the Hamza. Bani Tamim pronounced the Hamza. The Najdi recitation is from Bani Tamim's language. So you have Hafs, they say mu'min, right? So that's one of the great, to me, it's a great miracle of the Islamic tradition, is the preservation of the Quran. إِنَّا نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. We have revealed this book and we will preserve it. I mean, Allah tawalla amru. If you look, I've never bought a book printed in the Arab world, ever, except it had mistakes in it. And a lot of them, lots of mistakes, especially modern printing. The older ones, very few mistakes, because they had Azharis doing all the checking and everything. But now the modern ones, they're filled with mistakes. How is it that the Quran consistently is printed without mistakes? Even the books of hadith have mistakes in them. I mean, what is that? That's a miracle. I personally, as far as I'm concerned, if you know the Muslim world and what we're capable of, it is a miracle that we can publish a book without any mistakes. That's a miracle from God, as far as I'm concerned. Given what we know. I mean, the Ottomans, yeah, I'm sure they could have done it. In the previous, they had amazing commitment to excellence, itqan, but modern Muslims, I mean, we've got typesetting. Like, even though it's all computerized, you still get Muslim books with typesetting in, like, the sentence is like, the world is, it's like amazing. So that difference between khilaf and ikhtilaf, although khilaf is also used just fihi khilaf, there's a difference of opinion. So don't get caught up in the terminology. The ulama use them synonymously, but there is that distinction of khilaf and ikhtilaf. That ikhtilaf is when both sides have their proofs. Khilaf is when one side has a proof that invalidates the other side. فَنُكَفِّرُ مَنْ آلَ قَوْلَهُ لِمُحَالٍ فِي مَعْقُولِ الْعَقَائِدِ. So we consider as kafir, and this is the ulama, نُكَفِّرُ, we excommunicate, those whose words lead to some impossibility فِي مَعْقُولِ الْعَقَائِدِ, in those things that are intelligible in the creedal matters. So if it's an intelligible thing, and somebody says something that is impossible for God. Like, it is just simply impossible. It is impossible for God, inconceivable for God to be limited in time or space. And to believe that is to worship an idol. You have an idol in your head. If you think God is limited, if he is encompassed by space, then that means he's in need of a place. If he's in need of a place, he's not God. وَنُبَدِّعُ مَنْ آلَ بِهِ لِذَلِكَ فِي مَنْقُولِهَا إِنِ الْتَزَمَ الْقَوْلِ بِاللَّازِمِ. This is a madhab, lazim al-qawl, and I actually wrote a blog about it, so you can refer to that if you want the argument about it. There's a khilaf amongst the ulama about those who make a statement that what can be necessarily inferred from that statement leads to kufr. Is that statement kufr itself? This is a khilaf. The more generous position is that it doesn't, because there would be a lot of people that would be outside of the faith if that was the case. So people can believe things, and that's certainly certain literalists that believe things that if you follow the logical conclusion, it would lead to a type of kufr. So this is a khilaf issue, but the more moderate position is that it's considered a bid'ah and not kufr. وإن نظر في شبهته فنجري له حكمها على خلاف بين العلماء في قول لازم القول. So there's a khilaf about that amongst the ulama. ولا نكفر ولا نبدع من لازم قوله غير محال. But if what he states does not lead to some inconceivable statement about God, something that we consider impossible for God, then لا نجزم بفساد أصله مع احتماله. We don't consider him kafir or even mubtadi'ah. ولا نجزم بفساد أصله. And we don't assert without the possibility that he could be right, what he has said, as long as it has a possibility of being true, a true statement. وبهذا الوجه يظهر قبول خلاف أهل السنة بينهم. So the Ahl Sunnah differ amongst them, like takween, sifat takween amongst the Maturidiyya and the Asha'ira, those types of differences. There's differences about the sifat al-af'al, those that are considered pre-eternal and those that are considered hadith. So these are khilafat amongst the ulama, but in the usul, the foundations, they don't differ. Again, it's like the movement of the finger in the prayer, or still, these are the type differences. I mean, it's not the same in aqidah, but what I'm saying is the essentials are agreed upon. They differ on the particulars, and one of the fallacies, in logical fallacies, is the fallacy of mistaking an accident for something essential. It's a very common fallacy, the fallacy of accident. So so while they accept difference amongst themselves, they still refute others generally. وهو جار في باب الأحكام الشرعية. And the same is true in the أحكام الشرعية. So this includes عقيدة, it includes tasawwuf, and it includes fiqh as well. في باب الرد والقبول, in what's rejected and what's accepted. فتأمل ذلك تجده. Think about it and you'll find that what I'm saying is true. It's a good قاعدة. لكل شيء وجه فطالب العلم في بدايته شرطه الاستماع والقبول ثم التصور والتفهم ثم التعليل والاستدلال ثم العمل والنشر. وما تقدم رتبة عن محلها حرم الوصول لحقيقة العلم من وجهها، فعالم بغير تحصيل ضحك ومحصل دون تصوير لا عبرة به، وصورة لا يحصنها الفهم لا يفيدها غيره. وعلم عري عن الحجة or عري عن الحجة لا ينشرح به الصدر ما لم ينتج فهو عقيم والمذاكرة حياته لكن بشرط الإنصاف والتواضع وهو قبول الحق لحسن الخلق ومتى كثر العدد انتفيا فاقتصر ولا تنتصر واطلب ولا تقصر وبالله توفيق. So he says everything has a wajh, and it's a tough word. It means a lot of different things, but it has a purpose, it has a design, it has an essence, it has a destination. فطالب العلم في بدايته شرطه. So the seeker of knowledge in his beginning, in his outset, his condition is to listen and to accept. If you're a student of knowledge, at the outset, you have to listen and accept what you're hearing. Why? Because you don't have the tools of criticism yet. Once you acquire those tools, you can begin to become critical. But those tools take time to acquire, and that's why the Muslims put so much emphasis on the acquisition of critical skills. And this is why they taught in their early stages. They focused on grammar, they focused on logic, they focused on rhetoric, they focused on these, what they call sina'atu thalatha. They focused on these arts because they understood that in order for you to really grasp what's being said and to be either accepted or to be able to criticize it, you had to understand it. And you had to understand it with the tools that enabled you to understand it without making the common mistakes that people make. And the grammatical tools are important because you have to know a conditional sentence is not a declarative sentence. It's a conditional sentence. And so if you take it as a declarative sentence, I'll give you an example, my own experience. After 9/11, I was interviewed by the San Jose Mercury, and I said, if there were any martyrs on 9/11, it would be the firemen. Suddenly, all these people, Hamza Yusuf declares the firemen martyrs. That's because people don't know what a conditional sentence is anymore. I'm serious. I mean, that's not the same thing as saying. And on the other hand, why assume that they were disbelievers when the foundation is belief? A person is a believer until they're proven a disbeliever. So why should you just assume America's filled with Muslims? There were Muslim firemen there. Some of them died, right? Why just assume that? Why not assume the best of people? Well, kuffar, American, right? That puts us in a dangerous position, right? It's precarious. But this is the problem. We have a community that does not have the tools of education. They haven't spent, and then the other thing they'll say, oh, this is an elitist project. This is for you to, assert your authority over the masses. I was one of the masses. I spent, 20 years studying pretty seriously, pretty hard, acquiring tools, it's open to anybody. You can all do that. You all have intellects, right? Seriously. It's not about elitism or preservation of, this is our domain. No, it's about understanding how dangerous words are, how dangerous revelation is when it's misunderstood, right? And we can see the madness out there from a loss of a spiritual scholastic class of people that used to have the regulatory function, the hisbah. They had a regulatory function of our tradition. So you had the ulama. And they were the ones that said, no, you can't do that, you can do this. Now, every Tom, Dick, and Abdullah is an alim. Everybody on the internet's an alim. Everybody's giving fatwa. And the basic tools to do those things they don't have. They're not necessary. Kitab al-Sunnah, brother. I follow the book in the Sunnah. What's that logic? Where did that come from? Who's Aristotle? A'udhu billah. This is their attitude. Seriously, this is their attitude. A'udhu billah. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, did he teach logic? And mantiq? Where's mantiq in the Quran? Right? Imam al-Ghazali proves it. It's in the Quran. He wrote a book proving that it's in the Quran. Right? A'udhu billah. Imam al-Ghazali. How do you deal with these people? You can't. There's nothing you can do. except just lament the condition of our ummah. Just subhanAllah, what happened? I mean, look what they produced. Now we blow up buildings. I don't mean we, but Muslims, a lot of Muslims, enough of them to cause all of us problems. But Muslims are good at blowing up. Kuffar are great at blowing up buildings. They're better than Muslims. I mean, you want to boast about something. Don't boast about blowing up things, because the non-Muslims are much better at blowing up things than Muslims. Build bigger bombs, right? Smart bombs used by dumb people. It's a problem. But look at these buildings they built. You go look at the masjids we're praying in. Just look at the buildings. Look at the stone. Look at the perfection. And then look at the beauty. That's what they were doing, right? I mean, the Andalusian poet said, تِلْكَ أَثَارُنَا تَدُلُّ عَلَيْنَا فَانْظُرُوا بَعْدَنَا إِلَى الْأَثَارِ. These traces we leave behind tell you who we are. So after we're gone, look at our traces. You want to know who the Seljuks are? Just go look what they built. Look at their madrasa that we went to. You want to know who Sultan Salim was? Look what he left behind. And now what do we leave behind? We're blowing up mosques. There's Muslims blowing up mosques that were built by previous generations. They go in and, it's a Shia mosque. Well, what is that? I mean, who gave you the right to remove people from the world? But this is the type of madness that's going on it's a sign of the times. I mean, the Prophet ﷺ informed us about a lot of these things undeniably, but it doesn't mean we should acquiesce, right? Fold our hands. What can we do? No, we have to fight it, oppose it, because it's very tragic how ugly that they've made Islam appear. I mean, this religion that people are in awe of. Everywhere you go, you travel anywhere in the Muslim world, you look at the civilizations that went before us. Look at the beauty they left behind. It's all beauty. They had their flaws. They weren't perfect. I'm not nostalgic in that way, or sentimentally nostalgic. But you just look what they left behind. It's all beautiful. People come from all over the world just to see Rumi. Why? Because he left the Masnawi. That was his contribution. People come from all over the world to see Istanbul. Why? They want to see the Topkapi. They want to see the Masjid Sulaiman. And the Christians left behind great things too. The Hagia Sophia is a beautiful church. So the beginning is to listen and to accept it. ثُمَّ تَصَوَّرْ. And then to begin to have that tasawwur. This is the first stage of understanding, right? Understanding. وَتَفَهُّم. This is the first stage. ثُمَّ تَعْلِيل. And then to judge. ثُمَّ وَالِاسْتِدْلَالِ. And then reasoning. You see? This is the order. Understand, judge, reason. ثُمَّ الْعَمَلُ وَالنَّشْرُ. And then act on it and then spread it. That's the order. He's giving you the order. This is how you do it. وَمَتَى قَدَّمَ رُتْبَةً عَنْ مَحَلِّهَا حُرِمَ الْوُصُولِ تَحْقِيقَ الْعِلْمِ عَنْ وَجْهِهَا. And whenever you put one before the other, if you put the horse before the cart before the horse, then you are deprived of ever realizing this knowledge in its proper, min wajhiha, in the way that it should be understood. فَعَالِمٌ بِغَيْرِ تَحْسِيلٍ ضَحْكَ. So a scholar who has not acquired any knowledge is a joke, right? And our ummah's filled now with ulama without tahsil. They didn't do any of the work, but they're now giving fatwa and issuing decrees and alimun bighayri tahsil. Dhahka, it's a joke. For him, not anymore. People are taking them seriously. وَمُحَصِّلٌ دُونَ تَصْوِيرٍ لَا عِبْرَةَ بِهِ. And somebody who's acquired, who doesn't understand, don't give him any consideration. So he's got all the information, but he doesn't have the proper understanding. He doesn't know what كَمَثَلِ الْحِمَارِ يَحْمِلُ أَسْفَارًا. Allah says, like a donkey that carries books on its back. You can have all that stuff memorized in your head, and you don't know how to implement it, make it work. وصورة لا يحصنها الفهم لا يفيدها غيره. And the form that is not protected by understanding, لا يفيدها غيره. He won't be able to give benefit from that knowledge to others. وعلم عري عن الحجة لا ينشرح به الصدر وما لم ينتج فهو عقيم. And knowledge that is not founded on proofs, the heart does not expand towards it. You don't feel comfortable about it because you don't have the dalil. ما لم ينتج فهو عقيم. And if it doesn't produce results, then it's barren. It's barren knowledge. It's sterile. والمذاكرة حياته. Mudhakara is when students get together and they discuss, or when ulama get together and they discuss. It's called mudhakara. It's like reminding each other. So you talk about things. Like last night we went and had suhoor with one of the local scholars, and he wanted to talk about usul, he wanted to talk about the differences between the Maturidi and the Ash'ari. He wanted to talk, this is mudhakara. He said, this is the life of knowledge. لكن بشرط الإنصاف والتواضع, but it has to be conditioned upon disinterestedness, insaf, disinterestedness, and humility. Disinterestedness, in other words, you're objective, you're not pushing an agenda, you're not fixed in your position without the possibility that there could be something better. And then humility, just being humble. وهو قبول الحق لحسن الخلق. And it's to accept the truth because you have good character. So humility is to accept the truth due to your good character. ومتى كثر العدد انتفيا. And when it gets too many, you lose those two things, the insaf and the tawadhu. فاقتصر ولا تنتصر. Be brief, don't defend yourself. واطلب ولا تقصر. Seek and don't stint in your search. Don't stint. إحكام وجه الطلب معين على التحصيل المطلوب ومن ثم كان حسن السؤال نصف العلم إذ جواب السائل على قدر تهذيب المسائل وقد قال ابن العريف رحمه الله لا بد لكل طالب علم حقيقي من ثلاثة أشياء أحدها معرفة الإنصاف ولزومه بالأوصاف والثاني تحرير وجه السؤال وتجريده من جهة عموم الإشكال الثالث تحقيق الفرق بين الخلاف والاختلاف قلت وما رجع لي أصل واحدا فاختلاف يكون حكم الله في كل ما أداه إليه اجتهاده وما رجع لي أصلين يتبين بطلان أحدهما عند تحقيق النذر فخلاف والله أعلم. So now he's going to extend the meaning of that previous one. He's saying إحكام وجه الطلب معين على التحصيل المطلوب. To perfect the way that you seek knowledge, to do it really with ihkam, to really master the way you seek knowledge will help you in the acquisition of what you're seeking. ومن ثم كان حسن السؤال نصف العلم. And from this perspective, a good question, a question that is well stated, is half of knowledge. A good question is half of knowledge. Because the answer, jawab as-sa'il, the answer that's given to the questioner is in accordance with how fine the questions are. So the tahdhib of what you're discussing, if they ask the question in the best way, then the answer will often match that. وقد قال ابن العريف رحمه الله لا بد لكل طالب علم حقيقيا من ثلاثة أشياء. Ibn al-Arif said, Ibn al-Arif said that every seeker of knowledge, a true seeker of knowledge, has to have three things. The first is he has to understand what disinterestedness is, right? Being fair, unbiased, insaf. You have insaf and intisaf. Intisaf is where ينتصف لنفسه. He wants it for himself. Insaf is when it's fair, it's disinterested, it's unbiased, it's objective. So he's saying you have to understand what that is. ثم لزومه بالأوصاف. And then you have to embody the qualities that characteristic entails. You have to embody that in your own personal behavior. The second, تحرير وجه السؤال, is also to really give the best question. يحرره is like to refine it in a way. So I mean, tahrir in modern Arabic is like editing. So it's refining it, the question that you ask, وتجريده من جهة عموم الإشكال, and then to denude it of those ambiguities and obfuscations that result from poorly framed questions. And there's a lot of them, and that's part of what logical fallacies are. So you have begging the question, right? So you say, why is Islam so violent? That's not the question. The question is, why are some Muslims so violent? And there are answers to that, because Muslims were not always violent like this. Right? So there are answers. Palestinians, all you have to do is read Gertrude Bell, Mark Twain. They visited Palestine. They have their diaries. Read about how Palestinians were. Palestinians are very peaceful people, historically. If you study the history of Palestine, well, that's one of the surprising things about it. Despite the Crusades and all these problems, generally, people have always visited Palestine, except for periods of difficulty. Christians have always gone. Jews have made pilgrimage to Palestine. Right? So why are the Palestinians right now? Well, what's going on that's made some of the Palestinians violent? You create intolerable conditions, people become violent. Why are people so violent in the ghettos? Well, go try and live in the ghetto for a little while, and you'll start understanding why people are so violent in the ghettos. Right? But if you want to alleviate those problems, you don't address those problems by asking the wrong questions. Why are blacks in the inner city so violent? Wrong question. Right? That's a better question, right? Why? Asking why, as opposed to, making those blanket statements. But it's still not the right question. What are the conditions that has resulted in people going against human nature, right? Because violence is not essential to the human, right? I mean, all of you have lived long enough to know, most of you, how many people have ever really been in a physical fight in their adult life? Like a physical fight. Not as children, in their adult life. Seriously, anybody in here? As an adult? One person, yeah. I mean, seriously, don't you find that interesting? Right? And probably, I would probably argue that somebody insulted him or instigated something, right? That's usually what happens. I mean, all you have to do is that poor Algerian football player, Nuruddin. Huh? Zainuddin? Zain al-Abidin? Huh? Zainuddin? Zidane. Okay. Yeah, that's all you have to know. Like, that guy, because those guys, the Italian soccer club, apparently they're known for this stuff. But he knew exactly what to say to this guy. Because he knew, you want to get an Arab, you want to get him to really get into a rage, say something about his mother or his sister. That's all you have to do, right? It's not hard, right? Say something about his mother or his sister, and yeah. If he doesn't have a knife, you might get out alive, right? If he does have a knife, yeah, that's it. That's all she wrote. So, والثالث تحقيق الفرق بين الخلاف والاختلاف. And then you have to know the difference between khilaf and ikhtilaf. In other words, that some things are insoluble. Some things don't have a black and white resolution. You have to understand that there are things that can definitely be disproven. There are other things that can't. There are two sides to the coin. And both of them you can have a preponderance, like we said, there's certainty, there's probability, there's doubt. التعاون على الشيء ميسر لطلبه ومسهل لمشاقه على النفس وتعبه، فلذلك ألفته النفوس حتى أمر به على البر والتقوى لا على الإثم والعدوان، فلزم مراعاة الأول في كل شيء لا الثاني. ومنه قول سيدي أبي عبد الله ابن عباد رحمه الله تعالى: أوصيكم بوصية لا يعقلها إلا من عقل وجرب، ولا يهملها إلا من غفل فحجب، وهي ألا تأخذوا في هذا العلم من متكبر ولا صاحب بدعة ولا مقلد، فأما الكبر فطابع يمنع من فهم الآيات والعبر، والبدعة توقع في البلايا الكبر، والتقليد يمنع من بلوغ الوطر ونيل الظفر. قال: ولا تجعلوا لأحد من أهل الظاهر حجة على أهل الباطن قدس، بل يحثون على أن يجعلوا أهل الظاهر حجة لهم لا عليهم، إذ كل باطن مجرد عن الظاهر باطل، والحقيقة ما عقد بالشريعة فافهم. So he says, to help one another in something facilitates achieving that thing. It also removes some of the hardships on the self and the fatigue that results. تعاونوا على البر والتقوى. And for that reason, the souls find comfort in working together, such that we have been commanded to do so in things of righteousness and piety, and not in things of sinfulness or aggression. So guard the first and avoid the second. And from that, Ibn Abbad radiallahu anhu, a great Andalusian scholar, said, let me give you a counsel that only one of intellect and experience will truly grasp, and only one who's heedless and veiled will neglect. And this is that you should not take this knowledge, meaning tasawwuf, مع متكبرا ولا صاحب بدعة ولا مقلد. Don't take it with an arrogant person, a person of innovation, or a muqallid. In other words, take it from somebody who's humble, who's following the sunnah, and who has experienced the things that you're interested in. وَأَمَّا الْكِبَرُ فَطَابِعٌ يَمْنَعُ مِنْ فَهْمِ الْآيَاتِ وَالْعِبَرِ. As for arrogance, it is a characteristic of the nature that will prevent somebody from understanding God's signs and discerning the lessons. And that comes from the Quran, that Allah says we will remove our signs from arrogant people. وَالْبِدْعَةِ, and innovation will cause you to fall into great tribulations. And taqleed will prevent one from achieving his desire. And he said, وَلَا تَجْعَلُوا لِأَحَدٍ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الظَّاهِرِ حُجَّةً عَلَى أَهْلِ الْبَاطِنِ. Don't let anyone from the people of the outward be a proof against the people of the inward. He's saying that what Sidi Ahmed Zarruq says, he reverses it, because remember, a negative statement? Yeah. So he reverses it because it's better if it's said the other way. بل يحثون عن أن يجعلوا أهل الظاهر حجة لهم لا عليهم. No, he should make the people of the outward a proof for him, not against him. So what he's saying is, in your tasawwuf, don't have anything that would enable somebody like a faqih to condemn you for it. And then he said, إذ كل باطن مجرد عن الظاهر باطن, because every inward state denuded of an outward state is vanity. والحقيقة ما عقد بالشريعة, and the reality is what is tied to the sharia. You can't separate them. الفقه مقصود لإثبات الحكم في العموم فمداره على إثبات ما يسقط به الحرج. I just want to get, there's anyway, I wanted to get to, because it ends this section. Should I continue or what do you, huh? How much time do we have left? Okay. الفقه مقصود لإثبات الحكم في العموم فمداره على إثبات ما يسقط به الحرج والتصوف مرصده طلب الكمال ومرجعه لتحقيق الأكمل حكما وحكمة والأصول شرط في النفي والإثبات فمدارها على التحقيق قد علم كل أناس مشربهم فافهم. So fiqh مقصود لإثبات الحكم في العموم. Fiqh is necessary to establish a ruling in general matters. And مداره على إثبات ما يسقط به الحرج. And the real essence of usul, what it really revolves around, is removing hardship for people. That's what fiqh is really there to do. In fact, Sufyan said, he said, it's either Sufyan or Ibn Uyayna, I think it's Sufyan. He said that الفقه رخصة عن ثقة وأما التشديد فيحسنه كل أحد. Real fiqh is taking dispensations from trustworthy sources. As for being hard on people, everybody's good at that. Like anybody can say haram, لا يجوز, لا تفعل, anybody. But to facilitate people in their lives, make it easier for them, that's difficult. وَالتَّصَوُّفْ مَرْصَدُهُ طَلَبُ الْكَمَالِ. And the purpose of tasawwuf is that you're seeking wholeness, completion. You want perfection. وَمَرْجِعُهُ لِتَحْقِيقِ الْأَكْمَلِ. And its reference point is trying to realize what's more perfect in a situation. حُكْمًا وَحِكْمَةً. In the ruling and in the wisdom. So in any ruling, the Sufi is always looking for what's the akmal here? What's the more complete? What's the better way? وَالْأُصُولُ شَرْطٌ فِي النَّفْيِ وَالْإِثْبَاتِ. And here he means aqidah is a condition in asserting and negating. فَمَدَارُهَا عَلَى التَّحْقِيقِ. And so he's giving fiqh, tasawwuf, and iman. Iman, Islam, ihsan. He's giving you the three, and he's telling you what the madar of each one is. And then he says in the usul, it's the condition is the nafi and the ithbat. فَمَدَارُهَا عَلَى التَّحْقِيقِ. So it revolves around tahqiq. You have to be certain about what you're saying. تحقق المسألة before you say it. وَقَدْ عَلِمَ كُلُّ أُنَاسٍ مَشْرَبَهُم. Everybody knows their mashrab. So there's fuqaha, Sufiya, mutakallimun. Everybody knows where they should be. مادة الشيء مستفادة من أصوله ثم قد يشارك الغير في مادته ويخالفه في وجه استمداده كالفقه والتصوف والأصول أصولها الكتاب والسنة وقضايا العقل المسلمة بالكتاب والسنة لكن الفقيه ينظر من حيث ثبوت الحكم الظاهر للعمل الظاهري من حيث قاعدته والمقتضية له والصوفي ينظر من حيث الحقيقة في عين التحقيق لا نظر فيه للفقيه حتى يصل ظاهره بباطنه والأصولي يعتبر حكم النفي والإثبات من غير زائد فمن ثم قال ابن الجلاء رحمه الله من عامل الحق بالحقيقة والخلق بالحقيقة فهو زنديق ومن عامل الحق بالشريعة والخلق بالشريعة فهو سني ومن عامل الحق بالحقيقة والخلق بالشريعة فهو صوفي انتهى وهو عجيب مناسب لما قبله تظهر أمثلته مما بعده. So he says that مادة الشيء مستفادة من أصوله. The material of something is derived from its foundations, right? ثم قد يشارك الغير في مادته. But then also in the material, other things can be involved in it. ويخالف في وجه استمداده. And sometimes go against it in terms of what it's deriving from. Like fiqh and tasawwuf and usul. All of them are founded in the book and the sunnah and قضايا العقل المسلمة. And also rational propositions that are مسلمة. Right? Remember we did the مسلمة, the مشهورة, right? بالكتاب والسنة, in the book and the sunnah. لكن الفقيه ينظر من حيث ثبوت الحكم الظاهر للعمل الظاهر. But the faqih is looking, how do we assert this outward ruling in terms of the outward action based on the qa'idah, based on the principle that determines it. This is what the faqih is trying to do. He's looking at the action, what's the ruling of the action, and what are the proofs that derive the ruling for that specific action. That's the faqih. The Sufi, he's looking at the reality في عين التحقيق. ولا نظر فيه للفقيه حتى يصل ظاهره بباطنه. The Sufi is looking at the reality in terms of the essence of realization. How do we realize the reality? And the faqih doesn't have a perspective in this until he relates the zahir to the batin. So he has positions in relation to tasawwuf, but he has to understand the relationship. والأصولي يعتبر حكم النفي والإثبات من غير زائد. All the mutakallim, the theologians, he's trying to do is make a judgment. Nafi or ithbat. This is true about God, this isn't true about God. This is true about the messengers, this isn't true about the messengers. The messengers are ma'soom. The awliya are mahfuz. The common people are waver, right? ومن ثم قال ابن الجلاء, and from this Ibn al-Jalla rahimahullah, one of the great Sufis, he was actually he was Sheikh al-Sham during his time, and when he gave wa'ad, they said his heart, it affected the people greatly, according to Ibn Kathir in Siyar Alam al-Nubala. So he said, من عمل الحق بالحقيقة والخلق بالحقيقة فهو زنديق. Whoever interacts with God, with haqiqah, with the reality, and with creation is a heretic. فهو زنديق. ومن عمل الحق بالشريعة والخلق بالشريعة فهو سني. And if you act with God according to the sharia and the creation according to the sharia, you're a sunni. ومن عمل الحق بالحقيقة والخلق بالشريعة فهو صوفي. But when you act with the creation according to the sharia, but with Allah according to the reality, you're a Sufi. End of discussion. انتهى. وهو عجيب. And this is very interesting. مناسبني ما قبله. It fits what went before it, and I'll give you an example for what comes after it. And this is where we end. إنما يظهر الشيء بمثاله ويقوى بدليله. Things manifest according to the examples. So you understand things through examples, and they strengthen with the proofs. فمثال زنديق, an example of a heretic, is al-Jabari, people that say that there's no free will. الذي يريد إبطال الحكمة والأحكام. These people want to nullify divine wisdom in creating human beings, because there's no wisdom in creating things that have no free will and then taking them to account for their actions. I mean, where's the wisdom in that? And the rulings. ومثال السني, and the example of the Sunni, ما وقع في حديث الثلاثة الذين سد عليهم الغار فسأل الله كل واحد بأفضل أعماله كما صح وعمدته ظواهر الأدلة ترغيبا وترهيبا والله أعلم. An example of the Sunni are the three who the rock fell on the cave door, and each one of them asked with the best actions that he had in order to move the rock. So the foundation of that was on the outward proofs in terms of targhib and tarhib. The likeness of the Sufi. So he's giving you now the three after he determined what, right? The heretic treats God with reality and treats creation with reality. The reality of creation is, if you looked at creation in terms of haqiqah, we're all predetermined. There's qadar, right? But if you look at reality in terms of sharia, we have free will. And they're not mutually exclusive. That Allah has determined everything and yet at the same time given us free will to act accordingly. But one is haqiqah and the other is sharia. They're not mutually exclusive. So if you treat humans with the haqiqah, then you remove any taklif. There's no responsibility. Allah made me do it. So, and then the example of the Sunni is actions. That's how they got out, because they're treating Allah with Sharia, and they're treating people with Sharia. So that they're the Sunnis, those three in the cave, because each one of them did a good deed, and so they said to Allah, "You told us to be good. We were good. Help us." Right? So that's the Sunni. Now look at the Sufi. ما جاء في حديث الذي. This is a Sahih hadith. ما جاء في الحديث الذي استسلف من رجل 1000 dinar. He borrowed 1,000 dinars, a lot of money. فقال أبغيني شاهدا. So the man said, "I want a witness." He said to him, قال كفى بالله شهيدا. Allah is enough as a witness. Allah will suffice. فقال أبغيني كفيلا. Give me a guarantor, somebody who will say that, if you fail to pay me, he'll pay, right? He said, كفى بالله كفيلا. Allah suffices as somebody to give surety, what they call surety. فرضي, the man was pleased. فلما قضي الأجل خرج ليلتمس مركبا فلم يجد. So then the time came for him to pay the debt. He went out, because there was between him and the man water. He went out. He couldn't find a way to get there. فنقر خشبة. So he hollowed out a piece of wood. وجعل فيها 1000 dinar. And he put in it the 1,000 dinars. ورقعة تقتضي الحكاية. And he wrote a little note explaining why he was in that situation. وبذلها للذي رضي به, to the one who was pleased with it. وهو الله سبحانه وتعالى. And in reality it was Allah. Because he said, كَفَى بِاللَّهِ شَهِيدًا. That's what Allah says. Allah is enough as a witness. So if you really believe that, then you don't need that witness to sign the. And then he said, كَفَى بِاللَّهِ كَفِيلًا. Allah says that. So he did that, and it arrived to him. This is a sound hadith. ثُمَّ جَاءَ بِالْأَلْفِ الْأُخْرَى. And then he came with when he got later, when he found the transportation to get to the man, he brought him the 1,000 dinars. وفاء لحق الشريعة, because that's the haqq of the sharia. That's in Sahih al-Bukhari. So that man what he was doing was, he used Allah as his surety and his witness. And so he was giving that to Allah, the 1,000 dinars. And he was saying, I used you. So here's what I owe you. But then he went to the man and gave him the 1,000 dinars to show the haqq of the sharia. So one was the haqq of the haqiqah, and the other was the haqq of the sharia. And that's the Sufi. That's a sound hadith too. وَمِنْهُ إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. We feed you only for the sake of Allah. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. We don't want from you reward or gratitude. إِنَّا نَخَافُ مِنْ رَبِّنَا. We're doing this out of khawf from Allah. فَجَعَلَ مُتَعَلَّقَ الْخَوْفِ مُجَرَّدًا عَنْ حَامِلِ الْعَقْلِ. So they removed that khawf from
the rational aspect of it, like they're feeding them. They don't want from them any gratitude, any thanks. They're doing what they're doing because of the Yawm al-Qiyamah. وَقَدْ قَالَ رَجُلٌ لِلشِّبْلِ رَحِمَهُ اللَّهِ كَمْ مِنْ خَمْسٍ مِنَ الْإِبِلِ. One of them said to Imam Shibli, he was a Maliki faqih as well as being a Sufi. He said to him, if you have 5 camels, how many sheep are due? What's wajib? أما عندنا, he said, فقال شاة في الواجب. 1 sheep is what you're obliged to pay. أما عندنا فكلها لله. But as far as we're concerned, it's all God's. قال فما أصرك في ذلك. So the man said, what's your proof for that? قال أبو بكر حين خرج عن ماله كله لله ورسوله. Abu Bakr is our proof when he gave all his wealth for the sake of Allah. ثم قال من خرج عن ماله كله فإمامه أبو بكر. And then he said, whoever gives all of his wealth, his imam is Abu Bakr. ومن خرج عن بعضه وترك بعضه فإمامه عمر. The one that gives half and keeps half, his imam is Umar. ومن أخذ لله وأعطى لله وجمع لله ومنع لله فإمامه عثمان. And the one who takes for Allah, gives for Allah, gathers for Allah, withholds for Allah, his imam is Uthman. وَمَنْ تَرَكَ الدُّنْيَا لِأَهْلِهَا فَإِمَامُهُ عَلِي. And the one who leaves dunya for his family, his imam is Ali. وَكُلُّ عِلْمٍ لَا يُؤَدِّي إِلَى تَرْكِ الدُّنْيا فَلَيْسَ بِعِلْمٍ انتهى. And any knowledge that doesn't lead to detachment from this world is not knowledge. انتهى. Alhamdulillah. All right. This is the khatam of the Isagoji, which was always a big thing in the madrasas when you did it. When you finished a text, it was considered a really good thing. So, وَالْمُغَالَطَةُ وَهِيَ قِيَاسٌ مؤلف من مقدمات كاذبة شبيهة بالحق أو بالمشهور أو من مقدمات وهمية كاذبة والعمدة هو البرهان لا غير وليكن هذا آخر الرسالة في المنطق. Alhamdulillah. So he says, logical fallacy, which is called in Arabic mughalata, from ghalat, is a syllogism composed of either false premises that appear to be true or well-known premises, or of delusionary false premises. So Aristotle divided logical fallacies, which comes from a Greek word, which means deception, philos. They say our word fail comes from it, Allahu A'lam. So the logical fallacy, Aristotle divided them into 2, fallacies of language and fallacies that were not of the language itself, but it's in the language, but it wasn't specifically the language. The fallacies of language he considered fallacies of ambiguity, fallacies like equivocation, amphibole, fallacies of accent, like how you say something. For instance, decontextualization. So one of the fallacies of accent is decontextualizing a statement. Another one is the way you, where you put your emphasis in something, either in the word, like you have invalid and invalid. So words can be used, and because of the accent, there can be a fallacy in what's being stated. And then you have the fallacies that are outside of language that have to do with more like an ad hominem attack, right? You abuse somebody, so you say, "Oh, don't listen to him. He's an alcoholic," right? And that's not a proof against what he's saying. What he's saying might be true, but the ad hominem, and then poisoning the well, like that's what they tried to do with the Prophet ﷺ, poison the well, say all these things about the Prophet before people heard him. So when they come to him, they couldn't hear. In fact, he prohibited poisoning the well when he said, "Don't tell me about my companions. I like to go out with a sound chest." In other words, don't poison the well, because if you tell me all these bad things, when I see them, I can't assess them myself, right? And also fallacies of irrelevance. Like, what's that got to do with it? And that will be introduced also. You have fallacies of division and composition, like mistaking the whole for the part and the part for the whole. Very common. So the division is to apply to the parts, to the whole, the reality of the parts. And composition is the opposite. So for instance, some Muslims are violent. Oh, therefore all Muslims are violent. It's very common. These are very common fallacies. They're used all the time. If they're used intentionally, they're called sophisms, safsata. So the manatiqa, the logicians differentiate between mughalatat, which are fallacies, and safsata, or sophistical reasoning. So the sophist is the one who winning the argument is more important than establishing the truth. Is more important. Or they have personal agenda. People have different reasons for why they do things. And some, unfortunately, will believe that the end justifies the means. So there will be people that will lie because they believe that it's for a good cause. What Plato calls this royal lie. Sometimes the state needs to tell the common people something in order for their own benefit, because they're too stupid to know what's good for them. And that's the flaw of elitists everywhere. The people that want to rule the common people and think they're too dumb to know what's good for them. So there are a lot of fallacies, and there's some really good websites. There's some good books on it in English. There's people that have taken critical thinking courses will usually take those. So the formal fallacies are covered in those six Aristotelian rules, and then the two corollaries. Those are the formal fallacies. The material fallacies, or the informal, or sometimes this is called informal logic, are these type of fallacies that are very common. Like I said, they're used all the time. All of us use them. We're all guilty of these fallacies. Hasty generalizations, right? Stereotypes are often based on this. But there's also comprehension and extension to keep in mind about people not differentiating between comprehension and extension leads to a lot of misunderstandings about things. So, alhamdulillah, I think, I hope that this class has stimulated you to want to explore this subject more. I think it's a really important subject for people today, anytime, but today in particular, because we're very susceptible to propaganda, ad campaigns. That's what they call them, ad campaigns. It's a military term, campaign, right? And they actually call, in ad campaigns, they call something, this is barriers of entry, what's preventing us from getting to these people. So we need to wear them down by bombarding them until they finally succumb to the message. So that's all out there. And when you watch news, I mean, one of the fallacies that's really common is the victim expert fallacy. You'll see this all the time on the news. When something happens, they'll bring some victim of a gunshot thing, right? And he's going to tell us why we should outlaw guns, right? Because he was a victim of it. And that's not a logical argument. I mean, if you said that, we have to outlaw horses because some guy fell off a horse and broke his back, right? So you have him on TV saying, don't ride horses. We should eliminate all horses. That's the type of, there might be other reasons for outlawing guns, right? So, but like the bumper sticker says, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws have guns, right? That's not true, is it? Because police have them as well. But then some people will say, well, there you go. I support local police. Because when we're in trouble, that's who we call, right? the police. Now there is a valley in hell in the Sahih Hadith called Bolis. It's called Bolis. And it's for the tyrants specifically. That's where Allah sends all the tyrants. He says, خُذُوهُمْ إِلَى Bolis. Take them to Bolis. Very interesting. Coincidence? I don't think so. Allah yubarak fikum. I hope this has been a good class for you, inshallah. And like I said, I did want to say that should be musallamat. It shouldn't be la musallamat. I was right the first time. He might have gotten that out of a commentary, but in a dialectic, you have to have things that you can agree on in order for the dialectic to continue. So I'll say to you, do you accept this? And you say yes. That's a musallama. So we use the mashhurat. Now the difference between a musallama and an a priori is that a musallama could be wrong or right. It could be true or false. Whereas the a priori is always true. The whole is greater than the part. That's always true. Whereas with the musallamat, it's wrong to kill animals. There's almost 1 billion Hindus that might believe that. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Again, it could be wrong, but that's a debatable point. You would argue that. All right. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khairan.